Pattu from FreeFinCal, and here are 3 tips to maximize benefits from a PPF account or the Public Provident Fund account. So first things first, the PPF is an awesome long-term fixed income product. There is no other fixed income product that can give you that kind of return, around 8%-ish kind of return that has been the case in the past. Even in future, if it comes down, it will still be about 7-ish or so, I would expect, in the next few years or a decade or so. So, and it's completely tax-free. It's got income tax benefits, and it's a fantastic product. There's no doubt. But of course, it's a small saving product. It's meant for the lower income group, but anybody can invest in it. And the economic survey has noted that Indian economy is very different because it's got a huge corpus coming from the small savings schemes, and that corpus essentially helps stabilize the economy and hold it together, and we are not vulnerable to problems like they have in Greece and so on with respect to our banks and so on. That was in the last year's economic survey. So although it's a great product, there's no problem. It's silly to kind of use it as a tax saving product alone, because investment is not about tax saving. You got to invest with a clear goal. It helps you understand the return you want and the way to manage risk. And in my opinion, the most awesome feature about PPF is that its liquidity is not related to individual investments. Let's say that I start a PPF account today, and I invest only rupees 500 a year. That's all. That's the minimum required. Every financial year I invest rupees 500. That's the minimum investment required, and I invest that. 1 year before maturity, or even 1 month before maturity, I invest 1.5 lakhs, or let's say 1 lakh. I will still be able to get back that money when it matures a month later. So it's unlike the ELS scheme in mutual funds, where every unit is locked in for 3 years. In PPF, in my opinion, the most awesome benefit is that the liquidity has nothing to do with individual investment. You can invest any amount you want, but when it matures, you can take it out, or after 7 years after start of the investing, you can withdraw subject to rules and regulations, so on. That's different. But so individual investments are not related to its liquidity, and that can be utilized very efficiently for goal-based investing, as I'll explain. The first tip, well, many people will start shouting at me, is do not invest 1.5 lakh in PPF just because it's there. Just because it offers you tax benefits, just because it offers you tax-free fixed income, does not mean you should put 1.5 lakh. Asset allocation matters. Since a PPF account is for 15 years, it's obviously it's a long-term investment, and therefore for such an investment, you should be putting 60% of your money, and your portfolio should be having 60% at least in equity. And if you keep investing most of the money in PPF just because it's there, I know people who have EPF, and then they will invest 1.5 lakh in PPF also, and they will make sure they will invest that 1.5 lakh before the 5th of April every financial year. Don't do all such silly things. It's completely unnecessary. Unless you have a need for it, do not invest 1.5 lakh in PPF. You should, asset allocation matters first. See, we have 4 PPF accounts in the family. I have a PPF account. Well, it is something that I opened when I was young. I did not realize it was necessary, or not necessary rather. In hindsight, if I can go back in time, I would not open it, but I have it. My wife also has it. She uses it now for a tax saving benefit. I don't use it, but I just keep it alive. That's all. I use a PPF for my son's education goals. I invest. I don't maximize it. I invest something like 2,000, 3,000 rupees every month in it. That's all. I don't maximize it. I don't hit the 1.5 lakh in it. My mother has a PPF account for her tax saving. She receives a pension. She gets tax saving. Swat that mosquito, it's annoying me. Yeah, okay. So my mother has a PPF account. She doesn't maximize it again. She just invests. I take care of it. So I just invest in it to the extent of tax saving necessary, so that her tax liability is basically near zero. Sometimes I even pay the tax. So So I have tagged my mother's PPF and my son's PPF to his goals. In fact, my mother's PPF was opened after my son was born, and I specifically opened it for this purpose. And my PPF and my wife's PPF are tagged to retirement, but it's a very small amount for retirement. It's because NPS is maximum for me, as I mentioned it before. So for me, asset allocation matters the most, but I do use PPF as I'll explain in the next slide. So my suggestion is, please do not blindly invest 1.5 lakh in PPF just because you can, just because you'll get the tax-free tax-free interest and tax-free maturity. Just because of that, don't do it. If you want it for tax saving, use it. But even then, if your asset allocation does not allow you, you must only invest 40% in fixed income. If you use my robo advisory template, you would know. If you must invest only 40% for a long-term goal, then put only that much money into PPF. Anyway, most of us will be having EPF or even NPS. So why do you want to have a PPF? In fact, you don't even need it. But if you do have it, don't invest 1.5 lakh in PPF. So that's the first tip. Don't do it unless your asset allocation allows you. The second is that because its individual investments are not related to its overall liquidity, you can use PPF for periodic profit booking, and this is what I do. And the most important reason I do not invest anything in PPF most of the time, just the minimum amount, is because once I know that my goal, my equity portfolio has moved up, I will just book some profit and move it into PPF. That I do that. It's of course one-way rebalancing. I cannot remove from PPF and put it back into equity. Of course, I can after 7 years. My account is old enough now, but I don't do it. I just use it for one-way rebalancing. That is, the profits are locked into PPF, and that builds. So that gives you that satisfaction that you have reduced risk in your portfolio, and you're sort of building the fixed income investment. After all, at the end of the day, all returns in the equity market are completely notional, and if there's a crash, it will fall down. So you have to build your fixed income, and I mentioned this before in a goal-based investing. My aim is to increase my fixed income corpus higher and higher and higher gradually as my goals near, so that it's very close to my target corpus. So I use it for periodic profit booking. I use it for one-way rebalancing. I've done it even twice a year, of course, subject to the 1.5 lakh limit. So that works well for me, and that's another reason why you should not max your PPF investment. Of course, many of you are going to disagree with me, but that's fine. PPF offers you awesome options after the completion of the first 15 years. So it offers you 3 options. Let's call them options A, B, and C. Option A is you close the account after 15 years and you're done with it. If your goal is more than 15 financial years away, but less than 20 financial years, you can use this. Just suppose my goal is 20 years away. I've started a PPF account now. After 15 years, let me go do that again. Suppose my goal is 18 years away. I start a PPF account today, and after 15 years, I'll close it and put the money in my savings bank account and be happy with it. Last 3 years, I will not do any investment. So that you can do for such kind of goals, and option A is a fantastic choice. Option B, you can keep the account open without further contributions, and you don't even need to extend it. If your goal is like more than 20 years away, let's say my goal is 20 years away, after 15 years, I'll just keep the account open, and let's say I don't need to contribute anymore for that goal. Without further investments, the corpus will earn interest every year, and after 20 years, I'll just remove it. That's possible. You don't need to extend it. If you extend it, you have to contribute. Please recognize that. So if you keep the account open without further contributions, the subscriber can make one withdrawal in each financial year of any amount. So I have full liquidity. I have complete full liquidity if I keep the account open without further contributions. That's option B. There is another option. Let's call it option C, and you can extend the account for 5-year periods. So in option B, you don't need to keep the account. The 5-year window does not apply for option B. You can keep it account open for any duration of time. There's no problem at all. It's not about the 5-year window does not apply for option B. For option C, if you want to extend the account for a 5-year period with further contributions, then you have to give a form for it. I think it's called Form H, if I remember right. Then you have to extend this, and you have to do it within 1 year of that 15-year maturity. So if the PPF matures Within 1 year, you have to exercise this option and extend it for 5 year window. But once you extend it for 5 years, you have to contribute. There is no other choice. So you can do this if your goal is like, if your retirement goal is like 20 years away, 30 years away, whatever. You can just keep extending this, and you can do it for your lifetime. There's no problem at all. But the only problem is the liquidity is more tighter. So as a crude example, let's say I have 100 rupees in my PPF. Just as an example, 100 rupees in my PPF at the start of the 5-year extension period. Then over that 5-year period, I can only withdraw 60 rupees. And I can withdraw once a year, but the cumulative amount of total over that 5 years can only be 60 rupees. That is 60% of the balance at the start of the 5-year period. So the liquidity is a problem in this, but if your goal is like decades away, there's no problem. So it gives you those 3 options. You can use the option that suits you. So in my case, for example, for my son's education goal, I will exercise option A. So once my PPF is done, because my son is going to, he will turn 18 before he actually sits for his 12th standard board exam. So by the time my PPF account is, his PPF account is over, and my mother's PPF account is, the first 15 years are over, I will just close the account and remove the money and keep it safe in my savings bank account. I will not extend it. But for my retirement, I can very well choose option C, extend it for 15 for a 5-year windows, and I will just keep it alive. And whenever there is an option to book profit from equity, I will use it for booking profit. So you can choose the option you like depending on your need, and that's an awesome flexibility that not many other investments will provide. And those are your 3 tips. I have one final tip. Please don't worry about investing before the 5th of the month, so you get interest for that month and so on. That's just how small, that's just how poor people think. People who don't have money. You are not a poor guy. You are going to be a multi-crorepati using equity, and you're using PPF. And PPF is just one component of your investment basket. Stop worrying about stupid, silly things like investing before April 5th, before 5th of each month and so on. Just trivial. I have a post on this, how much difference it will make. After 15 years, it will be like 30,000 or 35,000 and so on. That's just a trivial amount. After 15 years, you must understand time value of money. By that time, you're going to be, your net worth should be in crores. Think like a rich person. Don't worry about tidbits like that. So PPF is a wonderful instrument. You should know how to utilize it. If you have a proper asset allocation in mind, you can leverage its benefits optimally. So catch you again in another video. Bye bye.